Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, slightly closer to the mic than usual. Let's see how it sounds. Slightly closer to the mic than usual. Let's see how it sounds. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, slightly closer to the mic than usual. Let's see how it sounds. Not too flaky, lovely. Hello everybody, welcome back to Clegg Comms here for tonight's action here in the Purple Sector Formula 1 League, as we're back here once again after we were unfortunately not here on Thursday night. I could sit here and make excuses, but the fact of the matter is that I don't have any excuse, so it was just me not being able to turn up. So I do apologise for that, everybody. But however, we're back here with a bang. We should be here for both races this week, for Tuesday and Thursday, which is absolutely brilliant. And I suppose the one small bit of consolation, and this had absolutely nothing to do with me not turning up, but it is a small consolation nonetheless, is that it was Monaco that we missed. And Monaco, in my experience, has never really been the greatest of races to commentate on. I mean, it's been action packed usually, but in terms of actual on-track action, you don't tend to see a whole lot. I don't know what it was like on Thursday. Obviously I wasn't here, so I can't comment, but yeah, anyway, here we are tonight at Circuit de Catalunya, Barcelona, here for the Spanish Grand Prix and round 9 of 24 for this 24 round season. Obviously I just said that, but currently we've got C Fortner atop the leaderboard here after the first couple of runs. Only 4 drivers have done a time so far, but C Fortner currently just under a second ahead of Drauger. Scott's done a time so far, 3rd place for him. A little way off of C Fortner's time. Surprising to see Scott that far off, but it's early stages yet. But coming into tonight, obviously after 8 races, the championship table is now going to be starting to take shape somewhat. And our current leader in the championship is Justified by 43 points. He's a long way clear of Glenn, who's in 2nd place. Obviously Glenn, the reigning champion. Justified had a season last season which was nothing to be sniffed at, was up there in the top 4 I think it was in last season's standings, but this season has really risen to the occasion so far, and it has a commanding lead on 141 points. Glenn's in 2nd on 98 points, tied 2nd with Scott, who sits in 3rd place on 98 points. Then we got Freddie, who's in 4th place in the standings, also having a solid season so far on 89 points, 52 off of the championship lead at this stage in the season. That could easily be overhauled over the course of the rest of it. We've got G.C. on 67 points in 5th in the standings, and G.C. is currently just coming through that little chicane there in the middle sector. Then in 6th place we've got Mark, who sits on 60 points, although Mark, I haven't seen him actually for a couple of weeks. I don't know if Mark's still racing or if he's gone on holiday or something, but hopefully we'll see Mark back soon, because he really did seem to take to the SF125 game like a duck to water. And obviously we saw him take the win in the 2nd round of the season in China, which was a phenomenal performance for himself. So yeah, shame that we haven't seen Mark for a little while, but hopefully he's sticking around in the league nonetheless. As we've got Matty, who's currently 7th in the standings, as he is on 54 points, ahead of Rexy Boy, who is 8th place in the standings on 49 points. Then you've got Drauger in 9th on 40 points, ahead of T, who is 10th on 35 points. And then you've got C Fortner in 11th on 32 points. C Fortner, 11th on 32 points. C Fortner, 12th on 32 points. C Fortner, 13th on 32 points. C Fortner, 14th on 32 points. C Fortner, 15th on 32 points. C Fortner, 16th on 32 points. C Fortner, 17th on 32 points. C Fortner, 18th on 32 points. C Fortner, 19th on 32 points. C Fortner, 20th on 32 points. C Fortner, 21st on 32 points. C Fortner, 22nd on 32 points. C Fortner, 23rd on 32 points. C Fortner, 24th on 32 points. C Fortner, 25th on 32 points. C Fortner, 26th on 32 points. C Fortner, 27th on 32 points. C Fortner, 28th on 32 points. C Fortner, 29th on 32 points. C Fortner, 30th on 32 points living up to what I was just about to explain there, because obviously he's retired from his qualifying session. He's got a heck of a lot of pace to C. Faulkner, but unfortunately too inconsistent. Really should be higher up than 11th place based on his pace alone, but he just isn't able to put it together on a consistent basis so far anyway. Hopefully that will change, but yeah, C. Faulkner 11th in the standings, and then we've got Street Boy in 12th on 12 points, followed by Truckee and John, who are tied on 13th and 14th places, and those guys have scored a solitary point each so far this season, and they round out the standings here. And there are other drivers on the standings, but none of them are here tonight, I don't believe anyway. But they're all the drivers to score points so far this season. So Justify's currently setting the pace here at the top of the leaderboard on a 1 minute 13.5. You've got G.C. He's just on a lap there, which is good enough for second place. So that's a good lap there from G.C. Our driver currently in 5th in the standings has definitely improved on this F125 game from F124. You notice a lot of drivers have made leaps and bounds. G.C. Definitely one of the noticeable ones. Freddie's also a bit more consistent on this game than he was on the previous one, so he's a driver who's absolutely got a chance here to win some races. He already has done so far this season. We've got the provisional pole sitter currently in the pits. G.C. is on an in-lap, I think. We've got Drauger coming through the first sector here, so let's see if Drauger can get a little bit higher up the leaderboard here. Is this an out lap or is it a flying lap? We're going to find out in just a second. It is a flying lap. So Drag will be the next driver to pump in the lap here. There's no other drivers on a flying lap at this moment in time, as we're watching the Haas car here coming through turn 5 and down towards the 6 and 7 chicane, as we see Draga there very nicely tidy through the chicane there, through this flat out right hander which leads onto the little back straight. It's a DRS zone during the race, and we can see Draga is going to attack the braking zone here. Didn't quite get on with him before he got to the braking zone, but he is 8 tenths up through the middle sector here, which would currently put him on the cusp of pole position here. So he is really close here. If Dragon can find a 10th in his final sector on his personal best, it will be provisional pole here. So he really is finding time at the moment, as the track is certainly rubbering in. Oh, did he just have to lift off there through the final corner? He did, definitely, but he misses out on provisional pole by less than a 10th of a second. So Drago a solid lap there, but not quite enough for top spot so far. We've got Scott coming through the first sector, was 3.5 tenths up through the first sector, so Scott is finding time out there at the moment. Street Boys coming through the middle sector at the moment, but Scott here down towards the chicane. Up the hill we go once again, and through the flat out right hander we go. So Scott currently third in the standings, or technically second, tied with Clem for second place, but obviously Clem has got more wins this season, so he's currently got that position in the standings based on those wins. But Scott is 9 tenths up through this middle sector here, so he can find 2 and a bit more tenths, then he'll be able to put it onto provisional pole here as he comes through the final double right hander, the flat out section of this track. Certainly in qualifying anyway, as here comes Scott towards the line. G.C. has got provisional pole, and Scott goes into second place. So G.C. there did a fantastic lap, 4 tenths clear of Scott, but half a second clear of the driver who was on provisional pole before. G.C. there with a phenomenal lap. He's really set a benchmark there as G.C. as Matty Pitts coming through the middle sector here. He's a 10th down in the first sector. Has he found any time here in the middle, as we see Ruck joining the session, which is good to see. So we're going to have another driver on the track with us. Ruck's still yet to score a point this season, which is a big shocker really, isn't it? But in the past seasons he's been a regular point scorer. But anyway, Matty coming through into the final corner. Let's see if our season 11 champion from 2 seasons ago can get himself up there. Here he comes over the line. P6 for Matty. It was a slight improvement, wasn't enough to advance his position here in this qualifying session. Who else is on a lap here? Let's try and find someone. Rexy Boy coming through the final few quarters, currently in 8th place. His teammate Street Boy is also on a flying lap as well, but we're going to stick with Rexy for the time being as we come out of the final corner up towards the line, and it's not an improvement for Rexy Boy this time around. Street Boy seems to have backed out of his lap at the moment. John's currently in the pits. What about Freddie? Freddie is ever a contender for pole position nowadays in this purple sector Formula 1 league, as here he comes into the final couple of corners. Is going to use all of his ERS here, or is he trying to save it for another run here? Is he planning on doing a couple of runs here? Freddie nonetheless over the line, and it's provisional pole position for Freddie, and it's not just by a tight margin. He's done it by comfortably there by 0.2 of a second, and has gone and extended the gap here. So what a fantastic job there from Freddie, and is now quite comfortably at the top of that leaderboard there. First driver into the 1:12 so far for the Mercedes man. And what can these guys do now? Justify will have seen that no doubt in the pits, and will be, I'm sure, mentally readying himself for another crack at this. But Freddie with a phenomenal lap there, and 2/10 clear of G.C. 6/10 clear of Scott, and 7/10 ahead of the championship leader Justify, who's going to need to get back out there soon. I wonder if Justify is going to now abandon any hopes of doing a middle run and just try and do a second run right at the end of the session when the track ramps up, because if you go out now you might not get another run in at the end of the session. So you want to maybe just stay in the pits until the track conditions are at their best, and then get yourself out there. Who knows what he's going to do here, but nonetheless we see Clen's got into third place now, so the reigning champion there going to the top of the leaderboard at 0.4 of a second off for the fastest time there. Not bad at all from Clen. But Freddie is still the one who is showing them all how it's done here. We've got Truckee coming through the middle sector at the moment, currently in 9th place at this point. I think Truckee might be on an in-lap, because I think that lap time has been posted quite recently. So I think he's just done his flying lap and is now going to be coming into the pits. No, he's not. So he's a 10th up. Okay, so Truckee's on an improvement. Oh, as he comes into the final sector here. Oh, pardon me. So here comes Truckee into the final corner here at Catalunya. This is a decent lap here from Truckee, I've got to say. This is very good, decent, into 9th place there. So well into the 1:14s. A big improvement on what he'd done before, but not enough to move up the leaderboard here. So Clan on in lap will be coming in a second. What about the rest of them? We've got Justify on an out lap, so Justify will be popping a lap time in pretty shortly, you would imagine. Jug as well on an out lap, as Matty's in the pits. Truckee always on an in lap. So what about T, Ruck and White Shadow here? These drivers seem to be on laps of some sort. We've got T coming into the final corner here. Still yet to put a time on the board here. What is it going to be for the McLaren driver and co-admin here? It's P4, so T's done a very, very solid lap there indeed. And he's right in the mix here, as Ruck has gone into 10th place in the background. You can see the Williams there just came over the line, and the Haas car there of Drauga has just gone into 8th place. So final few minutes of the session here. It's currently still Freddie at the top of the leaderboard. No changes in the last couple of minutes. We've got a few different drivers occupying P1 so far in this session. Clen, G.C. and now obviously Freddie is the one setting the pace, as the drivers are going to have one more attempt here at this Circuit de Catalunya before we get to the end of the session. Although drivers who probably won't, probably T, I doubt will be able to get back in. Ruck as well. Maybe Drauga, these guys might have to settle with what they've done. But G.C.'s back out on the circuit here, ready to have another go here. He's not going to get the best track conditions because he's going quite early for his last run. But he'll try and make the most of a less congested circuit to try and put a lap in. Problem is though, you might end up running into a few drivers on their out laps. He'll have to hope that the guys around him are playing ball here tonight. As Drauga's got into 3rd place with a nice lap there. So Drauga was actually starting a flying lap on that previous lap. I thought he'd just done one, but he was starting one. So Drauga's only 0.4 off for the provisional pole time there from Freddie, which is very competitive indeed. But that is him done for the session, as Justify goes to the top of the leaderboard there by 1/10 of a second. Just squeezes ahead of Freddie. Wasn't much, but Freddie is back out on the track here, so we'll be going for another run here at pole. So Freddie's not done here yet, but Justify has gone and set a new benchmark. But 1/10 of a second, I don't know if that's going to be enough here, because when you factor in the rate that the track improves at the end of these qualifying sessions here on this F125 game, I would hazard a guess that Freddie will probably find more than 1/10 here on his final lap, and if he does, then he's going to be taking pole straight back off of Justify here. So we'll have to see, but nonetheless we've got G.C. there coming through the first sector checkpoint, or sorry, through the middle sector should I say. He's got, obviously we saw Justify getting well out of the way there, very sportsman-like to see that going on from these qualifying pole position contenders. G.C. nicely through the chicane there. Let's keep an eye on the top right hand corner. When he comes to the end of this little straight, that'll tell us where he is in relation to his previous best time. So G.C. onto the brakes here into turn 9. Oh, and he's down. He's lost time through the middle sector. So I think G.C. has bailed out. I think that's him done. He's going to be bringing it into the pits at the end of this lap. It's not going to be an improvement for him. Freddie is just trying to find a bit of space here as he goes wide on the exit of turn 9. He's going to try and slot in a position on the track where he's not going to get held up, or he's going to try and minimise the amount of hold up that he possibly can here. As Glenn coming around the final corner about to start a lap, we've got T and Scott also about to start laps here as well. So Glenn will be the next driver over, will be the first driver over the line. Freddie will be one of the last drivers over the line. We've got Glenn, Scott, T. So Glenn, Scott, T, Freddie for the pole position ones to watch. Also Matty as well is out there, so can never count out Matty Pitt, but Glenn currently coming through the first sector, 3 thousandths of a second down on his personal best. Scott coming through the first sector, 2 thousandths up. So these guys are very close to their personal best here. Not finding too many improvements in the first sector at least so far. Didn't see what Matty's first sector time was just at the moment, but here's Glenn coming out onto the little back straight. Down towards turn 9 again, towards the final sector. Keep an eye on the top right hand corner. What is it saying? It's saying he's up by 0.04 of a second. That's not going to be nearly enough here for Glenn at this point. Let's see how Freddie's getting on. Freddie is 0.04 up through the first sector. Middle sector, 0.06 up. Oh, it's going to be tight here between Justify and Freddie. But Glenn here coming through the final corner here. Let's see if we can get it onto the front 2 rows maybe. Here he comes over the line. And it's third place there for Glenn. So a good final sector there from him. As we can see Scott's coming over the line, P7, stays P7, no change there for Scott. What about Freddie? Over the line he comes, and he misses out on pole position by 0.06 of a second. He improved his own lap there by 200, so wasn't enough there for Freddie. As Matty Pitts finished the session, he's not going to improve. Glenn's on an in lap, I think. He's not going to be able to, he's not going to have enough fuel to do another lap, I don't think. T's coming through down towards the end of the back straight, but he's down on his personal best, so I can't see T improving at the end of this session. So I think we're set in stone here for what we've got in terms of the grid order here. So we've got Street Boy, who seems to be on an in lap as well. So yeah, Justify there taking pole position. The championship leader there, stamping down his authority tonight in the qualifying session here at Catalunya with a phenomenal lap by 0.06 of a second, putting it on pole ahead of Freddie. Freddie was up by 0.06 through the middle sector, lost 0.04 in the final sector, but it seems like drivers are really on the limit here. Freddie says, I got done by cars going into the pits. Was that through the final corner? I saw there was a lot of traffic out of that final corner going through the one before the final corner, the second to last corner should I say. Well, Freddie there's been definitely done over by that, but he's still on the front row. And yeah, sometimes after the first lap it doesn't really matter whether you start first or second, it's all about the start. So if Freddie can get a good start, it's not going to matter this qualifying session. Fine margins dictate who starts first, but it's all about how you start the race. So just to quickly run you through the championship standings, everybody. Coming in tonight, it's Justify leading the way on 141 points, ahead of Glenn in second on 98. Then you've got Scott in third on 98 as well, tied with Glenn. Freddie's fourth on 89 points, ahead of G.C. in fifth on 67. Mark sits sixth on 60 points, with Matty in seventh on 54. Rexy eighth on 49 points, ahead of Trauger in ninth on 40. With T running out the top 10 on 35 points. C Faulkner 11th on 32 points, ahead of Street Boy in 12th on 12 points. Truckee and John have scored a point each in 13th and 14th. That's the championship. But the qualifying there on your screen right now with Justify there taking pole by 0.06 of a second ahead of Freddie. Very close session there. Tell you what, there was not much room for error, but Justify just about managed to pip Freddie there with Glenn and G.C. on the second row. Jarger and T in 5th and 6th with Scott and C Faulkner behind them. Truckee and Matty Pitt there on the 5th row with Rock, Rexy Boy, Street Boy, John in 14th place, and White Shadow didn't do a time there, and we'll start from the back of the pack here.
Here we go, the formation back underway, and the excitement here is building as we get ever closer to the start of the race. Which team can come out on top? Who's got their strategies right for today's race? We'll soon find out.
Well, it's a very mixed strategy here tonight, guys. We've got 3 drivers on the medium tyres. We've got a driver on the hards towards the back of the pack. In my experience around this track, the hards really are a bit of a pain. Yeah, the hard tyres are really tricky around this circuit. They do struggle to work at all, so that's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, here we are then. Lining up on the grid, getting ready to go for the Spanish Grand Prix. This is round 9 of 24 for this season 13 here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. As the lights coming on at the head of the grid, we're moments away from the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. And it's lights out, we're underway. And looks as though Freddie got a slightly better start than Justify as they run down towards turn 1. Has he got a head here on the inside? It's going to be pretty close in between them. I think Freddie might just have the nod here into turn 1 as he squeezes him out there. Up the inside goes Freddie up into P1 as we've got Dragger and T side by side here through turn 2. But Freddie clearing away here as we've got the G.C. there on the inside of Clen up into 3rd place. He's done really well there in the opening few corners there as G.C. We can see there T having a look on the Dragger into turn 4, but too far back at the moment and has to hold position as G.C. very wide there through turn 4 as Scott's moved back ahead of C. Faulkner up into 7th place. Those two trading places. There's a Ferrari onto the grass there in the background. That was Rexy Boy who's lost out to Ruck up into P10, and we've got somebody wide there on the background as John there gets it onto the gravel going through turn 5. And John down to last place here on its opening lap behind White Shadow. But in the meantime, Freddie has got the lead from Justify as somebody's really wide there in the background. That was T who got it all wrong coming out of turn 8. Also, White Shadow Hull getting it horribly wrong there as well as C. Faulkner now moves ahead of T up into 7th place. Rexy Boy's dropping down the order here. Has he got a bit of damage? He's got back ahead of Matty Pitt as those two were dicing it out there going through turn 10. As we got the Visa Cash up there, a C. Faulkner who seems to be in a bit of trouble here and has dropped down to last place on this opening lap. So I'm not sure what's happened to C. Faulkner there. Surely he's got to be pitting there for damage repairs, you would think, because I can't imagine what else would have caused that. But Freddie in the meantime has over a second of a gap here over Justify at the end of this first lap. He's driven an absolutely phenomenal first lap as Freddie after getting the lead into turn 1 and seems to be dictating the pace so far in this race, as we see John getting a bit wide there going through turn 1, and C. Faulkner doesn't waste any time getting back up into 14th place there. So clearly no damage for C. Faulkner, just a driver error there. Must have been going through the middle sector on lap 1. But there's Freddie, there's Justified, G.C. ahead of Clen with Drauger, Scott there in P6 ahead of T, followed by Trucky, Ruck, Street Boy there in P10, and Matty, Rexy Boy, White Shadow Hole, C. Faulkner and John there running at the back of the pack at the moment. Justify already sporting a penalty, what I would assume for track limits, but we don't know at the moment. That's not what you want after just one lap of racing, I'm telling you that, because you've really got to tread carefully for the rest of the race if you've got a 3-second penalty after one lap. But there they all are, filing through your shot as they come down towards the end of the little back straight. Nobody really in contention to make a move at the moment. Freddie's already broken out of DRS here to Justify, so Justify has also broken DRS to G.C. It's going to be a big DRS train here from 3rd down to 7th place though. There's 5 cars here in with a shout of making a move as they come down the start finish straight here, although saying that the gap between G.C. and Clen's a little bit too big as somebody was wide there, really wide going out of the final corner. Was it Ruck or was it Truckee? I'm not sure which one of them it was. Somebody there got it very out of shape as now we can see down the inside goes Ruck. He's going to try and make this move here on Truckee as Truckee gives him the space there. Great racing here between the two of them, and Ruck there gets him into 8th places. Now Street Boy follows him through as well. Truckee was a bit out of sync there going through turn 3 and lost out there to both Ruck and Street Boy. Street Boy looking at the inside there of Ruck, way too far back to even think about that one. But exciting first couple of laps here. We've got Freddie settling into a rhythm out the front. He seems to have the pace. Freddie and Justify seem to have very evenly matched pace, but Freddie crucially there got the move into turn 1 and also seemed to get his tyres up to temperature much quicker than Justify, and was able to really capitalise on that and have a solid enough gap at the end of the first lap to obviously be out of DRS. And now he's just got to maintain that over the course of the rest of this first stint. As we see Rexy Boy there is making the move on Matty Pitt to the outside into turn 9, and that is job done there for Rexy Boy up into P11. Although it goes a bit wide. I said it was job done, it was not job done because Matty's back ahead of him up into 11th place. So these two having a bit of a ding dong in the opening stages of the race. Nothing untoward so far, which is good to see. But C. Fortner's now looking pretty racy here on the back of Rexy Boy as well. As they come out of the final corner here, is C. Fortner going to fancy a move here. Obviously they've both got DRS, but C. Fortner is so close. He was able to use the slipstream there quite nicely in the foreground there. Matty up the inside of Truckee as well. So this is technically turning into a 4-way battle here between these drivers, but Matty there moving up into the points with that cheeky little move there on Truckee into turn 1. And now we've got well, it wasn't cheeky, but nonetheless I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, at the moment these four battling over 10th place here in this race. As in the meantime, the gap at the front is continuing to extend bit by bit here between Freddie and Justify. Clen though looking very racy here on the back of G.C. as they come out onto the back straight. DRS open here for the Williams driver, the reigning champion of this purple sector Formula 1 league, currently running in P4. As in the background here, Scott's moved ahead of Drauger up into 5th place, so that's now a job done there for Scott, now into the top 5 places here, which is pretty good for him considering he was P8 on the first lap, was battling with C. Faulkner, but has managed to gradually pick his way up through the pack. Now he can try and chase down the leaders who are just up ahead of him. So Scott, a good recovery so far. Currently tied second in the championship with the driver who's currently a second and a half up the road from him, running in second in the championship, 4th in this race so far. But we jump on board here with the reigning champion who wasn't quite close enough to make the move into turn 1 on the back of G.C. But they have got Justify now pretty close in front of him, so these two have both gained on Justify. Also looking at the timing board here, Truckee seems to have got ahead of Rexy Boy up into 11th place, but we're currently watching a battle here for 2nd place, which is really developing here between Justify, G.C. and Clen, and maybe Scott could bring himself into this fight if he can close that gap, although he's still got Drauger for company running in P5 and 6 at the moment. We're watching 2nd, 3rd and 4th at this moment in time. So here we go then, is G.C. Well, he's not really close enough to the back of Justify, and this is hurting Clen because Clen's going to struggle to pick off G.C. G.C.'s got the DRS to defend because he's within a second of Justify. So this is now going to be a DRS train here for 2nd place. You can see the race leader there, Freddie, just starting to clear off into the distance now, just up ahead of them. But here we come then. We've got these drivers just coming into the final corner now. So G.C. well within striking distance here as they come out of the final corner. Half a second between Justify and G.C. Here we go then, closing speed, and G.C.'s got some good straight line speed to go with his DRS as he now looks to the outside. This is going to be an easy move here for the Red Bull up into 2nd place without any further ado. Lovely stuff there from G.C. And now Justify's got to watch out because Clen is looking to try and knock him while he's down here. Justify, the championship leader, currently not on the pace of the race leader Freddie, and he looks like he's got some stiff competition here for the podium places so far. So the reigning champion Clen will be looking to try and put some pressure here on Justify, being that the points lead that Justify's got is pretty substantial at this point in the season. You have to say 43 points after 8 races. It's nothing to be scoffed at for sure. But we can see this trio still battling as they come out onto the back straight, and is Justify going to maybe have a chance to come back at G.C. Doesn't look like he's really close enough to have a say in that at the moment. As in the background there, you've got Scott, who's managed to gap Drago now by over a second. So Scott is out of threat now from the Haas and should now start to be able to try and close in on the battle up ahead, especially with those three battling. You would think that Scott should have the pace to try and put them under some pressure here. But now G.C. into second place ahead of Justify. He is starting to bring the gap down just a little bit here to Freddie. I mean, he's not gaining hand over fist, but he was a little bit quicker than the race leader on the last lap. And in the background here, you've got Justify now being passed by Glenn around the outside. Glenn up into third place, gets that job done into turn one, as we see a couple of drivers in the pits here. Drago in the pits, so is Matty as well. So very early stops there for those guys. I think they both started on the soft tyres. So Matty's put the mediums on, and so is Drago here. Then off and away, and should be back out on the track very shortly. P. Cheward says give a shout out to T-Bone representing McLaren. Alright then. Well, yeah, shout out T-Bone. I'm guessing that's a nickname for T, right? Gotta be. As the gap's still coming down a little bit here between Freddie and G.C. But there is T currently running in P6 at the moment, and he's just over a second ahead of Rock, so he's currently got embroiled in a bit of a battle here, but Rock's keeping him on his toes. In the background you've got Street Boy not too far away from these guys as well. They're running in 8th place, so could potentially be making this a 3-car battle here for P6 pretty shortly. But I'll tell you what, the big news here, Freddie in the pits. I was about to say that Freddie was dropping back into the clutches of the others here, but he's coming to the pits to save any potential blushes there. And interestingly, Freddie started on the soft tyres, whereas G.C. and Glenn started on the mediums. So Freddie was one of the few drivers who went for, or rather no, sorry, G.C. and Glenn were two of the few drivers who went for the mediums. So did Scott, so that's a blistering first stint from those guys. And Freddie's now on the medium tyres and off and away, as we see the Ferrari there in the foreground making the move there on the Red Bull. So that's Rexy Boy up into 7th place ahead of Truckee, as they seem to still be battling here. And Truckee's not giving this one up, I tell you. He's still right there, and Rexy Boy had to, well, just seemed to be a little bit lacking in confidence, as he had to hold it around the outside and give space on the inside. And now Truckee up the inside here through turn 4. Great fight here between these drivers, very respectful. And Truckee there back up into P7, so excellent driving there from those two. Really nice to see those guys keeping it good, nice and clean. As G.C. still keeping the edge over Glenn at the moment in this part for the lead. Obviously these guys have been put into first and second with Freddie coming into the pits, but these guys started on the medium tyres, so they're probably in a better position than Freddie was. But Freddie is on fresh tyres, so he'll be able to get the undercut here. Now he needs to now really push in the clean air that he's got. He's got Truckee just up ahead of him. Once he clears Truckee, he'll have about 8 seconds of clean air. So Freddie, there we go, he's now got past Truckee into 7th place. So Freddie just now needs to get his foot down and needs to clear off into the distance here, because obviously the undercut could be powerful around this circuit on these fresh medium tyres. He's just got to get head down and try and get as close to the leaders as they can before they pit. That's really what he's got to do at this point. But G.C. nonetheless has a slender lead over Glenn at the moment. Glenn's keeping him on his toes at this moment in time. Justify's gone a long way in this first stint, but on those soft tyres. Currently on his 9th lap of the stint, still keeping Scott at bay. Scott is piling on the pressure, and Scott only 3-4 seconds off of the lead at the moment. So Scott's certainly not out of the fight for the win here tonight, despite starting a bit down the order. Was 8th on the first lap, but has done a really good job so far to bring himself into this race. As I do apologise for any little noises there, that was a hiccup. And anyone who watches this channel quite a lot will probably be familiar with those by now, but anyone watching for the first time, don't worry, I'm not ill, I'm not having a seizure, it was just a hiccup. But anyway, G.C. still just ahead of Glenn, as we see Justify into the pits here at the end of lap 9. So his soft tyres coming off. Does T come in as well? He also started on the softs. Doesn't look like it. I think T's staying out, so a few drivers sticking with it on the soft tyres. But currently G.C. is the leader at the moment here on lap 10 of this race. Freddie there doing the fastest lap. Not a surprise, because he's on those fresher tyres. He's put his tyres on lap 7, so 7 lap pressure tyres in the leaders. Same compound, the medium tyre. Freddie definitely doing at least 2 stops here tonight, possibly 3. But here are the two leaders here, battling it out for P1 here in this Spanish Grand Prix at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. Still early stages here. But Glenn is getting a bit closer to G.C. here. These guys are about 15 seconds ahead of Freddie, 15-16 seconds ahead of him. So this moment in time, Freddie will have the undercut, and that's only going to improve over the course of this stint because his tyres are in considerably better health than these two's as they come through the final corners here. Oh, and Glenn's coming in, so that's an early stop there for Glenn on the medium tyres. Glenn getting those mediums off and coming in. So yeah, it was three drivers who started on the mediums. It was G.C., Glenn and Scott, and in fact Scott's also coming in. So G.C., the only driver now who's to still be on the tyres they started on, bar John. So John was the one who started on the hards and is currently running in 7th place, so John can go long into this first stint. I said at the start that the hards do not work at all around this track, not even slightly, but John's rolled the dice and he's currently running in now 4th place, having still yet to pit here in this one. Although saying that, Justifies up his inside and he's going to make that move, and there's a few more drivers waiting behind him here, so they might be coming through in a second as well. Drauga will be the first of them, and Scott just behind him as well. So these drivers who have all pitted, just making their way ahead of John, who's still yet to obviously make his first stop in this race, but he can go a long way into this race. Potentially John could be one stopping here if he can get the tyres to about, I don't know, maybe lap 20 something, lap 20, 21. He might be able to put the mediums on and go to the end. We'll have to keep our eye on John and see if he's able to make that one work. But in the meantime, it's G.C., the only driver who's started on the mediums to still be out on track. Does he stay out? No, he's coming in. So G.C. at the end of 11 laps here is going to get himself into the box. It's going to be Freddie who will retake the lead which he had in the first stint. So crucially here for Glenn, he's now well ahead of Scott. He's now about 5 seconds clear of Scott. So I think Scott must have had a bad pit stop. Justify, who obviously came in a lap earlier than those guys, is 3 seconds behind Glenn, so he wasn't able to get any sort of undercut there. Drauga came in very early for the medium tyres and is currently running in P5, but obviously will be giving away a considerable offset in tyre degradation to the guys around him, so Drauga could be a bit vulnerable here over the next few laps during this stint. But it's Freddie who has the advantage at the moment by 4.5 seconds. Glenn with a 3-lap tyre offset on Freddie, so he will close the gap, but will he close it by enough to put Freddie under pressure here before we get to the next round of pit stops? It does appear that the mediums do about 11 laps, 11 or 12 laps. So I wonder if Freddie's going to stick the hards on for the final stint, or is he going to try and eke out these mediums here? Maybe it's the fuel load's lighter and they could do 12 or 13 laps, maybe more, who knows. So yeah, he put these tyres on lap 8, so he'd have to do maybe a 13 lap and a 12 lap stint. He could get them to the end. We'll have to see here. But currently he is leading the race by 4 seconds. Glenn currently P2. We've got G.C. there in 3rd place. Justify about a second behind G.C. there in 4th place on those hard tyres. Drauga there, P5, has got Scott all over the back of him now. Scott with his much fresher tyres should be able to breeze past without any issues here as he goes down the outside there into turn 1, and that is an easy pickings there for Scott up into P5. Also noticing on the timing board here, Ruck's now looking on John here into turn 1, but can't quite make that happen at the moment. Oh, as John goes wide and Ruck's going to pick him off there. Matty also following him through, and John there onto the asphalt as Matty piling the pressure on the back of Ruck at the moment for 7th place here. John is all good there, just ran a bit wide, but he's still in good stead. The car's still healthy. But Rock with 2-lap fresher tyres than Matty, so he might be able to pull away here, but 2-lap tyre delta isn't really the be-all end-all. Certainly with DRS and a bit of slipstream, you can keep up with a car with that sort of delta. So Matty's still sticking with Rock for the time being. But gap at the front between Freddie and Glenn currently 3.5, just over 3.5 seconds. The gap coming down about half a second a lap at the moment, so you project that probably in about 6 or 7 laps Glenn will have the DRS. And what can he do once he's there? Because I imagine Freddie will be coming in probably lap 20 or 21, which will be about the time that Glenn is on the back of him here. So these guys may be coming in at a similar time, but yeah, Freddie's got the gap, and he's got it at a good amount. But his tyres, he's always going to be on. I think he's going to be on older tyres until the end of the race, because he'll be coming in a bit earlier than Glenn, so he'll be giving away a bit of an offset for the rest of the race. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see, because Glenn will always. I think Glenn's going to have the edge over the course of the rest of the race here in terms of pace. Matty still keeping Rock under pressure here for 7th place. These guys a few seconds clear of John and Street Boy. So Street Boy now looking on the back of this Sauber, who is still yet to make his first pit stop here in this race. Has gone a long way on his hard tyres, and I think that he's going to get around the outside here as Street Boy. Yeah, he does, around the outside of turn 8 there, and up into 9th place, and gets a bit of DRS as well, because he was behind at the detection point, which is always nice. So now T will be closing up onto the back of our kick Sauber driver in a second. But currently Freddie out the front, gap just under 4 seconds. The gap on the last lap, I think Freddie was slightly quicker than Glenn on that last lap, which is pretty impressive when you consider that his tyres are 3 laps older. So Freddie's certainly got the pace here out the front. Could be another win for Freddie this season. Obviously we missed his win at Bahrain due to the fact that we had some difficulties streaming, but Rexy Boy in the meantime has got a 3-second penalty, as he's just got ahead of Truckee, so he's into 11th place, but at what cost? Rexy Boy, at what cost, eh? But in the meantime, Glen's gained a couple of tenths over the course of this lap. G.C. about 2 seconds behind Glen. Justify, I wonder if Justify is going to try and go to the end here, because he put those tyres on at the end of lap 10. So what, 23 laps? It would be a real tall order. Let's make no bones about it. But certainly could be on the cards here for Justify. I reckon going long to put the softs on instead of the mediums would probably be counterproductive, because the amount of pace you'd lose going long on the hards, and then you wouldn't be able to offset that amount on the soft at the end. I think that would be pointless. So surely he's got to be going to the end here, you would think. But what are we going to see Justify do here? Because Justify started on the softs, let's not forget. Went a long way on those softs, so has shown good tyre saving capabilities. So I wouldn't rule it out. What was that voice crack? Jesus Christ. I wouldn't rule it out. Potentially him going to the end of the race on those hards, which he put on lap 10. So gap's still consistently coming down at the moment between Freddie and Glenn. Not by a massive amount, but by enough to keep Freddie on his toes out the front. For sure, he's going to see that gap coming down on average about a second a lap, half a second a lap, I'd say, not a second. Which would put him in striking distance in about 4 laps time. Glenn, that is. So Freddie's got to keep his head down, keep pushing, and try to ignore the timing board. It's easier said than done, I'll tell you that. But that's got to be his objective here for sure. There's Drauger there into the pits. So is Matty as well. So those two both coming into the pits here at the end of lap 16. About halfway through the race, just under halfway through the race here. But these guys are coming in for their second stops already, which really does demonstrate the tyre degradation that we're seeing here tonight. As T down the inside into turn 1 there on Street Boy, up into 7th place, with a very nice move there from the McLaren driver. Freddie's gap to Glenn still just under 3 seconds at the moment, so he is still keeping him at arm's length. So far this lap as well, Freddie's had a really good lap. The gap hasn't come down at all over the course of this one. And G.C. is starting to gain a little bit on Glenn now. The gap's now well under 2 seconds. I wonder if Glenn's made a little mistake on this lap, perhaps. Justify is currently about 8 seconds off of the lead at the moment on the hard tyres. But if he can go to the end, then it will be a fascinating game of cat and mouse Obviously, Justify will be the mouse and everyone else will be the cat towards the end of the race. But that's if Justify is going to the end of the race. So about 10 seconds covering the top 5 drivers at the moment. As C14 has got ahead of Truckee into turn 1. Is he going to make that one stick as Truckee's not giving this one up? We've seen Truckee in a couple of fights today. He's a driver who doesn't give up until it's absolutely set in stone that he's not going to be able to get the position. But he's just a little bit too far away. They're going into turn 4. So that looks like C14 has made that one stick up into P10, and he's on the hards as well. So the hards, the more durable tyre at this stage in their tyre life. I'd say C14 is probably going to have the upper hand here, just like the driver in P4, who on his hard tyres has got to very soon, if not already, be starting to feel the benefits. Justify is only 7 seconds now behind the race leader Freddie, so surely has got to be experiencing some compensation here with those tyres, which would have been too great at the beginning of the stint. But Freddie's gap to Glenn is staying around the same now. Freddie has looked after his tyres absolutely brilliantly. That's got to be something that that's something that I'm noticing over the course of this season. Not just his pace has improved enormously, but his tyre saving really is one of his key attributes so far this season anyway, on his F125 game. But in general, he's just really taken to this game absolutely brilliantly, as he's got the gap 2.5 seconds here over Glenn at the moment. So Freddie here coming through into the final couple of corners. Does he come into the pits this time? No, he's going to go for at least one more lap here. So if you look at, obviously, he'll have done 13 laps by the end of this lap, and he'll have to do 13 laps to the end of the race from here. So obviously with lesser fuel loads at this point as well, you'd expect that he'd be able to go longer on this final stint. So I'm pretty sure we'll be seeing Freddie into the pits this time around. Probably means that they're all going to be on similar age tyres, which will mean that Clem won't have that advantage that he's had over this stint in the final stint. And as long as Freddie can come into the pits with a couple of seconds of a gap, and obviously he'll probably get the undercut, because I'd have thought Clem might stay out for a couple more laps. So if he does get the undercut, then he'll be in a really good position here in this final stint. Currently he's got track position, and he's doing everything right so far. Matty on the back of Truckee here as they come out of the final corner. With DRS here for the Mercedes, is getting closer and closer and closer as Truckee doesn't even bother defending that one, knows it's a lost cause, and Matty up into P10 without any issues there. In the background you've got C14 running in 12th place. Rexy and John battling for 13th and 14th places. John did change onto the medium tyres, but he changed onto them 5 laps ago, so I don't think he's going to be going for a one stop. 18 laps on the mediums, well, yeah, I don't know if that's going to be feasible. But we have got the race leader into the pits. So Freddie, the driver who's been leading this race, aside from a brief moment in the first stint during the pit window, obviously has led this race from the get-go into turn 1, got the move done on Justify. Since then, Justify has either split the strategy, or switched the strategy, or has just kind of dropped off a bit. But Freddie back out onto the track nonetheless. So he's on the medium tyres, and he can go to the checkered flag here now, Freddie, because he started on the soft tyres. So he's done soft, medium, medium. Justify started on the soft as well. It was Freddie and Justify were the two that started on the softs, and Justify has gone for the hards for the middle stint. Potentially could be the final stint, or is he going to put the softs on for the final stint? But Justify's tyres definitely at this point in the middle stint better than the guys in front of him. You can see the gap's down to 4 seconds to Clem. Clem was only about 1.5 seconds behind Freddie, so Justify was sort of a net 5-6 seconds off for the lead. He's now 14 seconds ahead of Freddie, who will be going quicker at this stage in the race. But Freddie's just got a 3-second penalty, which will be music to Clen's ears if Clen's listening, or if he's watching the timing board. He'll be able to see 4th place driver's now got a 3-second penalty, as Clen is now into the pits here at the end of lap 21. So that will give Clen a 1 lap delta on Freddie in terms of tyre degradation. G.C. going to have at least 2 laps of favourable tyre deg, but he's leading coming into turn 1. Justify now into 2nd place. Now does Justify go to the end of this race and try and hang on? It's a bit like in the Tour de France when someone breaks the peloton, tries to pull away and build a big gap, and then everyone's chasing at the end as you're starting to run out of steam. Is Justify going to try that here tonight? Or is Justify going to play it safe, put another set of mediums on and just try to outpace these other drivers at the end of the race? So Freddie's come out in 3rd place, ahead of Clen. So Clen currently running in P4, just under 5 seconds behind Freddie at this moment in time. So these guys are now good to go until the end of the race. But for Clen's gone for the hard tyres, which will mean he'll have more pace at the end of the stint, but Freddie's definitely going to have the advantage at this point. Freddie with that 3-second penalty though, it could be crucial. That could make the difference here. 3 seconds could make the difference here in this race. It's been quite close in terms of the entire race so far, but Freddie will be really looking to kick on here, pull that gap as much as he can whilst he's got these fresher, faster tyres, because in the final couple of laps, clearly he's going to have better tyres than Freddie. There's no doubt about that. Those hard tyres, after about 8 laps, will start to become the better tyre compared to these mediums. It'll be in the last sort of 3 or 4 laps that we'll start to see that crossover in terms of performance. But so far, G.C. staying out for a little while on these medium tyres. I tell you, he's been at it on these for a little while. I was saying that Freddie went 13 laps. It's because Freddie started on the soft and went so long in that middle stint. Obviously, it feels like G.C.'s been out on these forever, but he came in 5 laps after Freddie. We can't forget that. But G.C. has just got Justify piling the pressure here. Justify could potentially go to the end of this race on those hard tyres, which he put on lap 10, end of lap 10. 23 laps would be the total number they'd have to do to get to the end of the race on him. And G.C. still staying out. So maybe holding out for the softs. End of this lap would be the window for the soft tyres. So maybe G.C. is holding out for the softs. Pardon me, that was a hiccup. So Justify looking to the inside, trying to make a move here on G.C. into turn 1. A little bit too far away. But G.C.'s got to come in at some point. He's going to be really feeling the pace on those medium tyres. Justify on those hards should be alright at the moment, but I mean, he's going to start to feel a bit of pain probably in a couple of laps, you would have thought. But in the meantime, just an update on the battle for what's currently the net lead, in a sense, albeit Justify is 9 seconds ahead and might not be pitting again. But for the sake of explanation, the net lead battled Freddie and Clen, 6 seconds between them. Freddie with a 3-second penalty. Clen has got the hard tyres, so towards the end we'll have to pace. So that 6-second gap at the moment, it looks big, it looks good for Freddie on paper, but the fact he's on the mediums and the fact that he's got that penalty as well means Clen would only have to get within 3 seconds to get the win. Also, Justify could be a threat to these guys as well if Justify isn't coming in for another stop here. As I think Justify thought about coming in there. There was definitely a moment of contemplation there for sure, which is interesting, because I suppose now would be the time to do it. But G.C. still leading. G.C. has done 13 laps on these medium tyres and showing no sign of coming in yet. I wonder maybe if G.C. is looking, waiting, hoping for a safety car. I mean, that's the only sort of logical explanation I can come up with as to why he hasn't been in on that previous lap. Because otherwise it doesn't really add up. But nonetheless, Justify now really close on the back of G.C. as the Red Bull's tyres are now going to be starting to cry out a little bit. So here comes Justify with the DRS getting closer and closer. Surely we're going to see a move for the lead down the start-finish straight in a few corners' time. So right on board here with the championship leader. Sits 43 points clear at the top of the standings. Potentially could be trying to go to the end on these hard tyres. Oh, he stays out. Bit of a dummy there, or maybe a contemplation. G.C. nonetheless into the pits here at the end of lap 25. So I would have thought it'll be the soft tyres going on for G.C. which will give him some good pace over the cars ahead, but with few laps and high tyre degradation to have to deal with over the course of these next 8 laps. So G.C. off and on the way. Has got a bit of a gap here. Actually, Scott might get him here. Scott's going to take P4, but G.C. will come out. Oh, actually, it's going to be quite close here. I think Scott might have just got him here into turn 1. Yep, Scott for the time being into 4th place, but G.C. on his fresh softs. Once he catches up to Scott, which will be in a few corners' time, should be able to make that move quite easily here. Once those tyres are up to temperature, that should be a very routine move indeed. So, for the time being, Scott into 4th place, but G.C. has got his sights set, I'm sure, on a bit further up than where he currently is. But in the meantime, Justify is keeping on to the lead on his very worn out hard tyres. Justify also has a penalty. I think it's that sort of time, to be honest, where we get the penalties up. So just got to remember who's on what tyres. Obviously you can see anyway, but makes it easier when you've got it on the screen as well. Oh, Justify's in, going for the soft tyres, surely. Let's just keep the graphic up for a second more so we can just see what tyres Justify's putting on, but I'm pretty sure it'll be the softs. So Justify will come out probably quite close to G.C. actually, and G.C. should, I think, be about to make the move on Scott in a second. So Justify's gone for the mediums, playing it safe here. Clearly doesn't rate the soft tyres too much, or it's just run out of them maybe. But here comes G.C. on Scott into turn 1. Job done there for him. And Scott will now probably find another car in his rearview mirrors in a second in the shape of Justify on those fresh mediums. So Justify, I think, now is going to be battling for P4 here, because on the fresh tyres should be able to get Scott and then pull away and probably finish in 4th place ahead of Scott. But obviously with a penalty, unless G.C. gets a penalty, I think that Justify is going to struggle to get on the podium here. But what this does do is it releases Freddie back into the lead of the race with a 7-second lead right now over Clen. The question is, can he keep these tyres in good nick? 'Cause he's going to have to do 13 laps on them, and the medium tyres do start to struggle after about 10 laps. So we're going to see whether or not Freddie can keep these tyres in their peak operating window and not take too much rubber off of them as well. So he's coming over the line here to start lap 28, 6 laps left to go here in this Spanish Grand Prix, but at the moment Freddie has the advantage. Just needs to keep it together in his final couple of laps here. Well, not couple of laps, there's a few more than a couple, but you get what I mean. As G.C. still running in 3rd place with Scott breathing down his neck right now. Obviously Scott on these hard tyres might actually find that in the last couple of laps he might get a bit of a second wind here, but I think G.C. should be able to pull away over these next few laps. I'll be surprised if Scott's able to keep up with the soft tyres on that Red Bull in front of him. He's got Justify in his rearview mirrors here, so Justify will be looking to come through as quickly as possible. Oh, it's G.C. a bit out of shape there. So G.C. just about hanging on there ahead of Scott and Justify. As they come out onto the back straight here. So Scott here close on the back of G.C. into turn 9 we go, but he's a little bit too far away to put on too much pressure at the moment. Oh, as we see a big slide there from Scott. He did well to hold on to that, I tell you. Pushing a bit too hard here, I think, to keep up with these drivers on fresher tyres. So that was a big moment there from him. Oh, and he gets another big slide there, and he just holds it together. That could have been easily an incident there. Justify did well to get out of that and avoid crashing into him. Scott out of the DRS to G.C. and that gives Justify's job gives him a much easier job, should I say, as up into 4th place goes Justify. So 5 laps left to go. Can Justify put the pressure on G.C. Obviously Justify with the penalty, it's going to be really, really difficult for Justify to get a podium here. Although Justify's tyres will be in a much better condition than G.C. in the final couple of laps of the race, so who knows? Who knows at this point? In the meantime, gap at the front, 6 seconds between Freddie and Glenn. As long as Freddie's got more than a 3-second gap here to Glenn, he'll be able to get the win. Just needs to make sure he can keep these medium tyres working nicely until the checkered flag here. But Justify here, challenging on the back of G.C. as they're coming down towards turn 9. Just keeping an eye on Rexy Boy, who's moved ahead of C. Fortner up into 13th place. And in fact, he's moved ahead of John as well. And John has just dropped down the leaderboard here. So what's happened to John? Let's have a look, see where John is. Oh, John's in the pits, that's why. So yeah, John is just coming out onto the track there, just ahead of the Mercedes, the race leader there of Freddie coming through. And Justify there with the fastest lap of the race on the medium tyres, and is now down the inside into turn 1 and makes the move into the podium places there. So now he's got to try and pull out a 3-second gap in these final 4 laps of the race. At this point, I'd say that the mediums are probably going to be slightly quicker than those softs, because G.C. has done 3 laps on those soft tyres now. So Justify should now start to be able to pull away here from the Red Bull. But can he pull out 3 seconds in 4 laps and secure himself the podium? The championship leader here is going to have his gap cut into a little bit here. The question is how much. Freddie leading the race, sits 52 points behind him in the championship. Obviously Glenn, who's running in second place, sits 43 points behind. So both of them will take a bit of a little chunk, a small slice, should we say, out of Justify's championship lead, but nothing too major at this point in the season. With a long way to go here in this championship, but the gap under 6 seconds now between Freddie and Glenn. Freddie, I think he should have it under control. The gap's coming down by less than a second a lap. It's considerably less than a second a lap, so as long as he keeps it cool here in these final couple of laps, Freddie should be on for another race win here this season, and he'll move up to 3rd in the championship as well, if he can keep things how they are at this moment in time. Which would be absolutely brilliant here for him. But yeah, Justify's pulled out just over a second here to G.C. since making that move on the previous lap. Gap 1.5 seconds now as we see the lap car there, White Shadow, just in between them at this moment. But yeah, if Justify can get 3 seconds here to G.C, then it's going to be a podium here for Justify, which I'm sure would be a good result here for the championship leader, all things being considered. Because when I saw that penalty earlier on, especially when I saw Justify coming in, putting the medium tyres on for this final stint, I thought, this could be a bit hairy, but it's looking like it's going to be a good damage limitation race here for our pole sitter, who got passed into turn 1 by Freddie on the opening lap of the race and was kind of put on the back foot a little bit under pressure from Glenn and G.C. But yeah, never really recovered from losing the lead at the first lap. Scott was a driver who I thought would be in the mix here for a podium. I'm surprised, but hasn't really figured like I thought he would. Obviously was dropped back on the opening lap down to 8th place and then brought his way back up, but hasn't really joined this fight in the way I thought he would. But nonetheless, he'll be getting some good points here in this one. I think he'll still be 4th in the championship after tonight, so still up there or thereabouts. As the gap's currently 5 seconds between Freddie and Glenn. Freddie about to start the final lap of the race here. Needs to make sure he keeps this within the white lines. He's got just a few miles to go here, and he will be the race winner here for the Spanish Grand Prix here at the Purple Sector Formula 1 League. As he comes through the final corner, there's Glenn, a little way behind there on the track, but Freddie's basically got this one. He just needs to keep it together on this final lap of the race, and he is going to be the race winner. And it'll be at least his 2nd win of the season. I'm not sure what happened last week at Monaco, but I don't think he got the win, but it'll be his 2nd win of the season if he can follow up what he managed at Bahrain in round 4 a couple of weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago now it would have been even. as Justify's got the gap almost 3 seconds now to G.C. So as long as he can keep doing what he's doing, it could potentially be a podium here. If he can find 4/10 on this final lap, it'll be a podium here for Justify. So here is the race leader then. Half a lap left to go. He's got a bit of traffic here just up ahead of him. That would be Rexy Boy, I think, the Ferrari. He's just past John, the Sauber. So here comes Freddie then down the back straight into the final sector. The gap 4.2, so just needs to ease it through these final few corners. And what a race it's been from Freddie. Really nicely managed. Got the move done into turn 1. Got ahead of Clen on the opening lap. And just never looked back. He had the pace over everybody else in the first stint. He's always had it under control, as tyres saved brilliantly in the middle stint. And Freddie over the line. It's going to take the checkered flag here. He is going to be the race winner tonight at Catalunya. The Spanish Grand Prix here at Purple Sector goes to Freddie, with Clen over in second place. Not too far behind in the end, and only 6/10 after Freddie's penalty. That was close there, actually. Justify over to take the final podium place here. Although G.C. does get him on the penalties, so Justify couldn't quite pull out enough of a gap there to take third place. G.C. third, Justify fourth. Scott completes the top 5, with Drauger over the line to take 6th place here. That is RNG clan tag mate Ruck coming out the final corner here to take 7th place. And a few seconds behind him is Matty Pitt, with T over in 9th and Street Boy. Oh, so Street Boy gets 8th with on the penalties. Matty Pitt 9th and T 10th. Truckee in, he's going to come around in 11th place. Freddie there posting in the YouTube comments, that one's for Oliver tonight, dedicating it to his friend Oliver. As we got Truckee here through the final couple of corners now. So John and White Shadow have finished the race a lap down in 13th and 14th places. Here comes Truckee out the final corner here to take 11th place. It's going to be Rexy Boy around the final corner now to take 12th. And that's going to be all she wrote here for tonight, here for the Spanish Grand Prix. Well, congratulations to Freddie on taking a well-deserved win. Very well managed, and really mature drive from him, got to say. Made no mistakes throughout that race, just looked after his tyres brilliantly, had excellent pace, and a well-deserved win for Freddie. Yeah, big shout out to obviously G.C. who came pretty close as well in that race, wasn't far away at all. And yeah, continuing his good performances there in 3rd place, but Clen couldn't quite get Freddie. I think maybe another lap or two he might have had a chance, but Freddie had it under control no matter what. He just was managing it very nicely. So Freddie, Clen and G.C. your podium finishes here tonight. Justify missed out by 1/10 of a second on the penalties to G.C. for a podium place. So Freddie gains 13 points on Justify and now sits 39 points off of the championship lead. And Clen gains 6 points on Justify and is now 37 points behind. So Clen and Freddie chipping away in that championship battle. G.C. also gaining a very, very small amount of points there on Justify, but still sits 60 odd points behind. That's that tonight, guys, for this Spanish Grand Prix. Join us on Thursday night. As always, we'll be back again at Purple Sector. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you all very, very soon.